He knocked me over. I landed on the dog bowl.
This one's wife. Can you believe this horseshit? Hello, I'm HG Tudor. We know that this one's wife is somebody who is now surrounded by that cloud that is the stench of desperation. That as a consequence of her repeated failings, the A-list turning their back upon her, partnerships not occurring, the cosmetic giants and the fashion houses thinking, partner with you, you've got to be kidding. Content creators thinking, she doesn't create anything, what's the point? That all of these various opportunities have started to run out for her. Repeated questions are asked about the state of her marriage with the Prince of Pink Pancakes. Is it truly a professional separation, or is that just laying the ground for the fact that it won't be too long before the world is told that they have separated? But are they waiting to get Christmas out of the way before making an announcement? Are there going to be various pressures? Perhaps they'll announce it before Christmas as a consequence of the fact that Harry might turn up at Althorpe on his own. The fact is that this one's wife is desperate. But because of her mid-range narcissism, rather than actually put in some hard work, perhaps try and find a modicum of talent from somewhere, she continues to want to remind the world of her existence. That thirst for fuel, the lifeblood of the narcissist, which makes her feel important, makes her feel wanted, is such a driving force that it has no regard for how stupid she'll look, how ridiculous she may appear, because remember, the narcissism always tells her, you are brilliant, you are the best, you are beautiful, you are talented, you are amazing. This is why certain narcissists will engage in particular behaviours which are utterly shameless, completely attention-grabbing, and you may well be curling your toes and experience severe second-hand embarrassment, and they're laughing about it. This is because they do not experience that sense of accountability that you do through a sense of cringeworthiness. Instead, they believe that when they dress up as a rubber chicken and run across with their arse out on a stage, they think the world loves them. And when the people are laughing, they think that they're laughing with them rather than at them, because of the deluding effects of their narcissism. And it's similar with this one's wife. Rather than recognise people are shaking their heads and going, good Lord, not another steaming pile of horse manure dumped by this woman, she thinks, they love me, they need to know. She doesn't pick up on the eye rolling. Instead, she just focuses on pumping out information about herself to ensure that she asserts control over the audience, that they provide a reaction so she can draw fuel. The more that people laugh at her, the more she seeks to nullify those threats to control. The more that people ridicule her, she will never ever have a rethink. Instead, she just keeps on doing it and doing it. And here we have perhaps one of the biggest piles of steaming, festering horseshit that has been generated on behalf of this woman. What am I talking about? Well, it comes courtesy of another PR puff piece, but even this one is stretching at the very fabric of the universe of credibility. It comes from People, and it's telling us basically about revelations from when this one's wife and Harry got engaged. Yes, you heard that correctly. So desperate is this woman for the prime aims that her publicity machine decides, hey, why don't we talk about something that happened 7 fucking years ago? You want to know what I was doing 7 years ago? I think you're probably more interested than that, than learning what this one's wife was up to. 7 years ago, my intimate partner primary source at the time was in devaluation. I had 3 intimate partner secondary sources on the go, jockeying for position, but it was a while yet before disengagement took place. I also recall that I'd flown in the month of November in 2017 to watch Depeche Mode in Manchester, going with 2 long-standing friends of mine, 2 loyal non-intimate secondary sources. I was also amused by one of them deciding that he needed to make a run for the bathroom, and he set off just as the opening strains of Never Let Me Down Again began, and I had never seen anybody turn around and run back down the stairs so quickly because he wanted to join in with that magnificent anthem. That's what I can just recall from 7 years ago off the top of my head. If I applied my mind, no doubt there'd be more. But I'm not pumping that out in a publication. I'm just telling you to make a point in one of my videos. But this one's wife comes out with this utter tosh. It's quite a long article as well, and I don't propose to take you all of it. After all, you'd end up pulling your hair out, quite understandably so. But it kicks off with this. 7 jam-packed years ago, Prince Harry and this one's wife announced their engagement to the world. On Monday, November the 27th, 2017, the official announcement from Clarence House, the office of then Prince Charles, Harry's father, read, His Royal Highness and Miss This One's Wife became engaged in London earlier this month. Prince Harry has informed Her Majesty the Queen and other close members of his family. Prince Harry has also sought and received the blessing of soon-to-be this one's wife's parents. The couple will live in Nottingham Cottage at Kensington Palace. He then talks about the statements that were issued. But then it moves on to the engagement interview. Remember that? Remember the cringe factor that you might have experienced? Remember what it shows. And I am going to follow suit in later videos by revisiting that engagement video. Why not? If it's good enough for this one's wife to tell us what happened 7 years ago vis-a-vis her engagement for the purposes of the prime aims, I'm going to do it too. And thus, you can revisit the engagement interview to consider what I'm about to tell you next, and also look at what actually occurred. In this article, they're providing us with 10 of the best revelations from this one's wife's engagement interview. First of all, they state they revealed how and when they got engaged. Accordingly, it's the roast chicken story. Just a cosy night it was. What we were doing, just roasting chicken and having, this one's wife added, as Harry jumped in and added, roasting a chicken, trying to roast a chicken, and it just an amazing surprise. It was so sweet and natural and very romantic. He got on one knee, this one's wife said, to which Harry said, of course. This one's wife told Hussein, who was interviewing them, that she could barely let Harry finish proposing before asking him, can I say yes now? Demonstrating once again the way that she won't even let him finish his proposal without butting in, because it has to be all about her. It was then also that they revealed how they first met, which apparently was through a mutual friend whom they didn't name, with this one's wife saying we should protect her privacy and not reveal too much of that. Though, of course, there are various versions of how they met, which has cast doubt on what we were actually told. Harry admitted he'd never heard of this one's wife before they met, which, as you may recall, caused this one's wife to flash him a look of disdain and annoyance as her facade management struggled to stay intact at this threat to her control. They also detailed how they made their long-distance relationship work, because Harry was based in London and this one's wife was in Toronto for the bulk of their courtship. They went on to explain that this one's wife said she had no idea what marrying into the royal family would be like. I think I can very safely say, as naive as it sounds now, having gone through this learning curve in the past year and a half, I did not have any understanding of just what it would be like. I don't think either of us did. This one's wife did. No, I tried to warn to warn you as much as possible, but I think both of us were totally surprised by the reaction after the first 5-6 months where we had to ourselves of what actually happened from then, Harry said. So I think you can have as many conversations as you want and try and prepare as much as possible, but we were totally unprepared for what happened after that. We were also told that they spoke about this one's future life as a working royal. Yeah, well, that turned out well, didn't it? Harry also admitted he felt a sense of responsibility for this one's wife. They opened up on their future plans to start a family. When they were asked, Harry cheekily said, "Not currently, no," but then followed up with, "No, of course, I think one step at a time, and hopefully we'll start a family in the near future." This one's wife talked about meeting Prince Charles, as was Prince William, and Kate Middleton. Notice people call her Kate Middleton, even though she was the Duchess of Cambridge at the time. And then conversation turned to the issue of this one's wife's ring. No, not that one, the one on her finger, which of course was the one that she then decided to change. Thus, we're treated to a regurgitation of things that we already knew. Events that took place 7 years ago. That must tell you very clearly that having to do this is demonstrative of the fact that, one, she's got really nothing to offer at the moment. Why not get on with some proper content creation? Too difficult, no talent. Why not actually do something with American Riviera Orchard? No, that's in a shallow grave. Instead, rather than keep a low profile, maintain that privacy, she can't help herself, but her narcissism drives her to get noticed. And therefore, it causes her to seek out the assertion of control and fuel. Think about it. Could you think of anybody else in the world, anybody else who would promote and recycle their engagement story from 7 years ago as if it's remotely material or relevant? You might sit down with your husband or wife and say, "Gosh, do you remember 7 years ago when we got engaged and we did that interview? Yada, yada, yada." That's understandable between the two of you, and maybe some friends or family members. But to try and tell the world, "Hey, we know you've seen it once, but let's watch it again. Let's talk about it again, because I am so desperate to stay in the headlines," unwittingly driven by my narcissism. It's a steaming pile of horseshit. And it's believable, really, coming from her, isn't it? It's understandable coming from the Duchess of Desperation. But once again, it gives you such wonderful insight into the talent-free zone that the Duchess of Industrial Beige is, and how she does this because her narcissism drives her to do so. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.